Hey guys, welcome back to Math with Ms. B. We are going to take a look at an annuities formula today. Okay, I've already written down the formula for you guys, and I'm just going to go over what each of the pieces are, and then we're going to do an example together. These are all pretty easy once you know what each one of the letters mean, so we're just going to go through it this way. Okay, so zooming in on our formula here. If you take a look at this, then we know we have our A, that's our ending balance in the annuity account. Think of annuities like a retirement account. You're putting in money each month or each week, and then you have a balance at the end, and it's collecting insurance, okay? So A is going to be that ending amount. D is going to be a regular deposit. Again, it can be monthly, weekly, bi-weekly. You just have to read the problem and find out what your deposit is. Times 1 plus your R, that's your interest rate. Remember, it must be as a decimal. Over K. K is the number of times you're compounding in 1 year. So how often is the bank pulling all your money together and then getting interest off of it? Okay, so the compounding periods, that's K, and then T is your time in years. All right. So, and what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to plug all of this into your calculator, into just a plain scientific calculator, and um, calculate your answers. Okay. So let's take a look at an example. These are all fairly mild examples, and I'm going to show you kind of a routine that you can get yourself into to help you. All right. So our question is, you deposit 150 per month into an account earning 5.5% interest compounded monthly. Question 1, how much will you have in the account after 30 years? How much total will you put in the account? And how much interest will you earn? Okay, so we're going to answer all three of those questions. Always a good idea, especially if you're required to memorize formulas, write down the formula every single time, even if it's on a page multiple times. It just helps you get into that routine of memorizing. Okay. And then what I like to do is I like to write down every single variable that is in my formula, and I make kind of like a shopping list. So I'm going to go through my problem again, and I am going to list out what's my ending amount, what's my regular deposit, my interest rate, my compounding periods, and my time. I'm going to find each one of those pieces. One of these pieces is going to be missing, and that's the one we're going to solve for. Okay, so you deposit 150 per month, 150 per month. That is going to be my regular deposit. That's how much I'm putting in each time period. Okay, so that is going to be 150. That's my D. Okay, 5%, 5.5% interest. Okay, so that's my R, that's my interest rate. So I'm going to write 5.5%. Remember, that needs to be written as a decimal. And if you can't remember how to do that uh, with moving a decimal point, just take the number 5.5 and we're going to divide it by 100. And you can plug that into your calculator. And we're going to get 0.055. Okay, so that's the decimal we're going to use for our R. K is my compound pieces. So we see the word compounded and then monthly. So if it's compounded monthly, that means it's going to be 12 times a year. All right, so K is going to be 12. And then in our original prompt, we don't know how long we're leaving it in there for, but the first question says, how much will you have in the account after 30 years? So that's where I am going to put 30 right here for my T. Okay, so the ending amount, that's question 1, that's what I'm missing. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to plug all the pieces I know in and solve for the one that I don't. All right, so I labeled this as medium just because it can be difficult to plug this in the calculator, but again, I have my calculator right here and I'm going to show you how to do that. So when I plug this in, I'm going to get A, because I don't know what that is, that's what I'm solving for. Monthly deposit, that's 150. Open parenthesis, 1 plus my interest rate, 0.055 over K, that's 12, close my parenthesis, and then I have to raise that to the power of K, which is 12, times T, which is 30, minus 1, and I'm going to close my parenthesis. Okay, and then I'm going to put all of this over, open a parenthesis, 0.055 R over K. Okay, so I was very specific with my parentheses and very purposeful for them because I am letting you guys know that if you copy this as is, you can type this in directly as you've written it into the calculator. Okay, so every time you wrote down, I'm going to type in a 1, I'm going to type in a 5, I'm going to type in 0. Then I'm going to type open parenthesis, open parenthesis. Everything you have written, you're going to type in, and I'm going to show you how all that works. Okay, so we are going to do all of this once again. I should have written this. This is all for question 1. Okay, so how much are we going to have at the end of 30 years? So I'm going to get my calculator out. I'm going to move it over here so you can see what I am typing versus what I have written down. Okay. So I'm going to start here, and if it helps you, you can write out and go, okay, I'm going to type in 150 into my calculator. So I'm going to type 150. Then I'm going to open 2 parentheses, 1, 2. Open parenthesis, open parenthesis. And then I'm going to keep going. 1 plus 0.055 divided by 12. Close your parentheses. So on my calculator, I just typed in the 1 plus 0.055 over 12, close parentheses. Okay? And it might help you get out a colored pencil or pen, and I'm tracing over everything as I'm typing it in. Then I'm going to raise an exponent to an exponent. That is this x to the y button right there that's highlighted now. And I have to open another parenthesis. Parenthesis, 12 times 30, close parenthesis, minus 1, close parenthesis. Okay, so I've just typed in now, I did the right here, if it helps you. I'm going to put right here on my scientific calculator, I did x to the y power. I pushed that button. All right. Now, if you're using a different form of calculator, your button pushes might be a little bit different. And if you have questions, ask me and I will go through whatever button pushes I can and need to. All right. So we went through 12 times 30, close parenthesis, minus 1, close parenthesis. Now I've got this fraction bar that I need to put in. That is just the division button on your calculator. So I'm going to do divided by. I have to open up another parenthesis, and then I'm going to do 0.055, and it looks like I did K, but I didn't put the number, but we know it's 12 from earlier. And then close parenthesis. Okay, so I am going to erase that K. We already know that this number is 12. Okay, and I did divided by 0.055 divided by 12, close parenthesis. All right, and I'm going to hit enter. So that's how much money we're going to have in our account at the end of the 30 years. All right, so this equals, and I'm going to round to the nearest cent just because that's usually what we're going to end up doing. 137,041.78. Okay, so that's how much money we have at the end of 30 years. So now for question two, we're being asked how much total did you put into the account? So this is how much we earned with interest and everything. But if you just want to figure out how much you put into the account yourself, what you're going to want to do is take your regular deposit times how many payments you made per year, so number of payments in 1 year, times your T, which is the number of years. Okay, so in this particular case, we're going to take our monthly deposit, which was 150. That's our regular deposit. Since we're making these payments monthly, that means we are making 12 of them in 1 year. And then we are going to multiply that times 30. So when we multiply those three together, that's going to give how much we input into the bank. So I'm going to do in my calculator 150 times 12 times 30 years. So you contributed $54,000. So that equals 54, 1, 2, 3. That's $54,000. But remember, this is how much we have in the account at the end. So you only contributed 54,000. The rest of this is all interest that you've earned. That's what leads us to question 3. How much interest will you earn? So if you want to know interest, interest is equal to the total you paid oops, I wrote that backwards. It's going to be the amount in your account, so your A from your problem 1 from your formula, A minus total paid. There it goes. All right. So in this case, it's going to be $137,041.78 minus the 54,000 that you put in. So all the rest of that, 54,000 is just what you contributed. The rest of it is going to be our interest. So in our calculator again, I'm going to do 137,041.78 minus 54,000 equals $83,041.78. So $83,041.78. So that's a pretty good amount of interest that you've earned. Okay. So again, just to kind of go over that, make sure you write down your formula that you're going to use. So this is an annuities problem, so I'm using my annuities formula. Figure out what each variable means for you in the problem, and then you can answer your question. The total amount that you got in the account after 30 years is the 137,000. The total amount that you put in is going to be 54,000, which means you earned the 83,000 in interest. Okay? Let me know if you guys have any other questions about this one. I am working on some problems over the mortgage payments and others for you that you've requested. Leave a comment if you want help with a different calculator or want a more specific problem. Like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in class. Bye.